Welcome to Friday, December 9th, 2022. Your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com or on their Facebook page. Also brought to you by YDOT. Remember, when there's ice and snow, take it slow. Well, next week still looks stormy and also really, really cold. We're going to get hit with a lot next week. In the short term, just some windy areas today. There's another little system moving through. A few mountain snow showers will be around today into Sunday and Saturday mornings. We're talking about mainly high country snow showers, gusty winds on the plains. Temperatures will moderate a little bit. In fact, temperatures are going to warm up a bit Saturday and Sunday as some slightly warmer air will be pushed ahead of this next storm system coming off the west coast. High confidence remains very high for an impactful winter storm Monday through at least next Wednesday. There's still details to figure out, and there's still some other things we need to work on because we're still far enough out where there'll be some subtle changes. But right now, our confidence remains high. Those are the locations that remain under the gun the most, the highest risk for the winter storm conditions. And we're going to post an update this weekend, especially probably most likely I'm going to wait until I get as much data as I can and post something Sunday morning with an update on the storm. Today's satellite photo shows some high and mid-level clouds with the next disturbance here coming in off the Pacific. This is what's going to cause some mountain snow showers later today, tonight, and Saturday morning. You can see all of this mess up here in the Gulf of Alaska. This is all of the cold, moist air that's going to turn into the storm later. Actually, the center of low pressure is about right here. Doesn't look like much, but it is all going to come together. Wanted to give you a quick update on the snowpack conditions across the region. Snowpack's doing pretty good. Now, not everybody's above average or right at average, but close within striking distance. You can see the blue colors there in far western Wyoming, where snowpacks are off to a good start. Kind of same in Colorado. It's the western part of Colorado and northwest Colorado that's doing the best. And if you look at the whole region, anything you see here that's blue, snowpacks are above average. Green is at or a little bit above average. And you can see the further away you get from the Pacific Northwest down here, snowpacks aren't as good. They're going to get help here later in the month of December. So we'll see some improvement there. But it's a good start to the snowpack season. Here's today's little disturbance coming through. This is by afternoon. Doesn't look like much. It won't be much, but it will produce some snow showers up into Montana, in the Dakotas, into the Rockies, some high mountain snow shower activity. And there's the cold, moist, energetic air that's in the Gulf of Alaska that's headed this way. As it heads south, this is by early Monday morning. It's going to come through the Pacific Northwest. It's going to get very wet. Washington, Oregon, into California, the Sierra Nevada, going to get a lot more snow out of this, and cold, wet conditions into the Great Basin and into the far western areas of the United States. Now notice we've got a southerly wind flow aloft at 18,000 feet. This is also going to have a southeast wind come up, and that's going to draw up some slightly warmer air. So you'll see a little bit of a warm up ahead of the storm system. So at first we've got a southerly and southeasterly wind flow ahead of this system. So that's why the warmest day is the day before the storm, and that'll be on Sunday. But during the course of the day Sunday, you're going to get into some snow in far western Wyoming, into the Wasatch Front, into the interior west there. But what will happen is it's got to jump the divide. This big trough of low pressure's got to get over the Continental Divide and on into the plains. And that's going to happen as a strong jet stream wind. You can see right here the yellow and orange colors. Very powerful jet stream winds with this system. This adds a lot of energy to the equation. Now, these strong jet stream winds, when they cross a mountain barrier, especially the northwest trending mountain ranges of the Rockies, you have what's called lee-side cyclogenesis takes place, where the low has to go over all of this terrain, and there's a lot of physics that go on, and we get what's called lee-side cyclogenesis. Lee-side meaning on the east side of the mountains. Cyclogenesis means the generation, the birth of a low pressure system and a deep low pressure system. The mountainous terrain has the ability to take a storm west of the divide and kind of reform it and make it stronger east of the divide, because when you take air from one side of the divide, the west of the divide, take it over the divide, the air column gets squeezed. You see this? And then as it gets over the mountains, the column of air expands. And this causes a lot of what we call vorticity. Basically, you are able to strengthen the storm system. It's like a figure skater when the figure skater will put their arms together, and you'll notice that they'll speed up. Kind of a similar situation here. So this is an important dynamic in these big storms on the plains in the winter season and the spring season, is the impact of the continental divide. And there it is. By Tuesday morning, we get the low really winding up and becoming more organized. Somewhere, it's going to be somewhere in northeastern Colorado or western Kansas. We could end up seeing the system a little bit more north into Nebraska. We could end up seeing it more down towards Pueblo. That's where we've got to figure things out. This far out, there's going to be some variation in the exact position. And I will tell you, the exact position of this storm is a huge player in who gets the most snow and who doesn't. But we're continuing to see the evolvement, everything we need to get to come together for a major winter storm. What'll happen here, by Monday night and the Tuesday, a northeast wind is going to start to develop, an upslope wind, in the counterclockwise spin around this low. So livestock interest planning for this storm, you're going to get a southeast wind ahead of the storm, a northeast wind as the storm starts to get going. And then as the storm really intensifies and gets much stronger over Nebraska by Wednesday into Thursday, a very strong northwest wind. And this northwest wind is going to be the strongest. And this northwest wind will be the most persistent on the backside of the storm, probably going all the way into Thursday. And that's going to drag in some really cold air. We're still seeing the same general vicinity here of areas that have the highest risk of the heaviest snow. It's generally in that same area. Again, do expect some fluctuations and changes based on the track. But in that area I just outlined, I think is where the biggest impacts are going to be with the heaviest snow. The thing to remember about December storms is that December, you naturally don't have as much water vapor in the air like you will in a March storm or an April or a May storm. Early winter storms, they have to work really hard to get a lot of water vapor into them. It's just a naturally drier time of the year. These are very impressive precipitation totals for December. And then if you remember when we talked about snow-water ratios and the snow amounts really dependent on the temperature at which the snow falls. So you tend to get the drier snow here, and this is where we're concerned about blowing and drifting, especially in this area right here. I think is going to be a real problem with blowing and drifting of snow for a prolonged period. Look at the precipitation there in California and the West Coast as well. And then if you look at the snow swath, a lot of snow going to fall with this system all the way from the Midwest back through the Northern Plains and back into the Northern Rockies. Now, I'm already getting a lot of requests. How much snow? How much snow? How much snow? And I understand that. People want to know how much we're going to get. This map here is to show you where the highest probability of the heaviest accumulations will be. But going back historically at Bunker Hill during the Revolutionary War, this is a forecast axiom that I stick to, which is don't shoot until you see their whites in their eyes. Basically, don't start nailing down those snow accumulation forecasts until you're confident. But I am confident it's going to snow, and we're going to have wind, and we're going to have cold, and it's going to be very impactful. But giving you an exact forecast for accumulations is something I'm going to try to pinpoint for you folks Sunday morning with the update. What I want to do is focus on what we can do the best right now. The best we can do right now, predicting the snowfall, is give you the trends and show you where the highest probabilities of the heaviest snow will fall. So if you're in those pink, purple areas, you're going to have a high confidence level. You're going to have some significant amounts of snow, wind, and cold. When you get into those bluer areas, lighter amounts of snow and probably more of a colder and windy weather pattern. So stay tuned. We'll get more specific with those snow amounts when we get closer. It doesn't help at all if I give you snow amounts now and 24 hours from now, all of a sudden the weather pattern changes. Taking a look at the cold coming in onto the back side of it, look at the cold air coming on in. It is going to be just nasty. And if you look at the temperature pattern here, you can see the warm air getting wrapped up into the storm and the Arctic air coming in back into the back side of it. And here's the wind. Here again is the area where that blowing and drifting is going to be a real problem Tuesday, Wednesday, and into early Thursday. And look at the cold air. This is by next weekend. The United States just covered in cold, very cold conditions in the west and across the northern plains. Look at the cold getting down into Texas. You want to go to Florida to warm up? Well, not much warmer. Have yourself a good Friday. We'll update you Sunday on the storm. Stay tuned.